Stephen, you're not long layoff, and you're dealing with yet another knee injury and everything. You said yesterday, you're 36 now. You kind of have to look at things a little differently. Was there any point where that time off forced you to kind of think about where your MMA career is going, how much time you have left in the sport, or are those thoughts not really with you at this point?
No, at this point, it's not really with me. I've had some, 4 knee surgeries on my left and 2 on my right, but they don't really bother me that much. That's kind of like not even up there yet. I guess, I don't know. I consider myself a young 36-year-old, and I got, people are fighting to, their later ages, and you got guys. Cormier's 39 or 40, and he's a champ. You know what I'm saying? So I look at that as inspiration. So, I haven't taken too much damage, so I got a lot left in the sport.
So, like, the idea of being a 40-year-old fighter isn't uncomfortable to you. You'd be cool with that?
No, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I'll do this as long as my body will let me, or when coach tells me I'm done. So right now, I like to say, I'm in my prime.
Can you still be a Wonder Boy when you're 40 years old?
You know what? That's a good question. Everybody's asking me when I'm going to be changing my name to Wonder Man, but as long as I'm walking out Six Nations D Wonder Boy, I'll be the Wonder Boy.
You ever been to Nashville? What do you think of Nashville?
I love Nashville, man. I've been here twice. Once for my brother played Vanderbilt. He played college football, so we did some, we toured around, and I was here a few months ago with Anthony Pettis, and we toured the town. It's awesome, man. Very lively, awesome, good honky-tonk bars, and good food. That's what I like.
UFC's been here a number of times. I think the last time they were here in 2017. Do you think maybe down the road, maybe in the future, as Nashville keeps booming, maybe they'll be here maybe once a year? Potentially?
That would be great. The fans here are amazing anyway. The Predators, the stadium sold out in no time. So obviously there's UFC fans here. So I don't see why the UFC wouldn't come here once a year. So so let's make it happen. As long as I'm a part of it. You know what I'm saying? As long as I'm part of the card, I'm good.
What are you expecting from Pettis? We aren't sure what we're going to see. This is the first time he hasn't had to cut weight down. So what are you expecting from him?
You know what? I expect Anthony Pettis being the best Anthony Pettis out there. I know he's a former 155er, even a 145er, but I'm not taking this guy lightly whatsoever. He's a veteran. He's been in there with some high-level players, submitted some high-level guys. I expect some straight-up ninja stuff from this guy. He's a very flashy fighter. Who else runs across the cage and kicks people in the face? So I expect a little bit of that. And at some point, I believe he's going to want to take the fight to the ground, maybe try and get it there, and I'll be ready for that. So, I can do all the studying I can on camera, but what makes the sport so fun is guys like Anthony Pettis. What makes this fight fun is that I won't have to adapt out there, and I'm ready for that.
What is a straight up ninja fight?
Man, kicking, flipping, disappearing, reappearing somewhere else. You know what I mean? Karate chops, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. That's what I go over in my head anyway.
What do you feel like? When you talk about your guys' striking and everything, a lot of his knockouts stem from kicks and stuff. You have that too, but it seems like your hands have led to more knockdowns in your UFC career. Do you feel like your boxing is superior to his, like a clear advantage when it comes to the striking specifics?
Yeah, I do think I'm faster. I think I definitely have the longer reach in both my arms and my legs. So, Anthony Pettis is good at closing that gap, but that's how I fight as well. And most of my team members that I fight, are high-level ninjas as well. So, it's something I'm prepared for. I'm ready for whatever he brings. So I know he's going to throw something flashy, maybe catch me off guard at some point, but, nothing I haven't seen before.
So when Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gaethje fought, they fought for the violence belt. Is this for the ninja belt?
This is for the ninja belt. That's right. Whoever wins gets to wear the ninja headband.
A lot of big welterweight fights coming out. Not everything confirmed, but this division is going to evolve a lot over the next bit. I just kind of want your opinion. Maybe if you can put on your analyst hat for some of these upcoming matchups. How do you think Usman versus Covington goes?
I think Usman wins that fight, 100%. Covington has been a while since he's fought. They both have very similar attributes with the wrestling and just that cardio for days. But I do believe that Usman is the stronger fighter. I think he's got the heavier hands. RDA, they both fought RDA. And RDA, I think in the 4th and 5th, ended up taking Colby down. I don't think Colby expected that at all. And Usman is going to bring that pressure from the first bell ring. So I think Colby Covington's going to have a hard time.
What about RDA and Kevin Lee?
And that's actually a pretty cool matchup. I mean, RDA being a former 155er, both guys not having to cut the weight. So I'm kind of anxious to see how big Kevin Lee is going to be. You know what I'm saying? I hear he walks around sometimes over 200 pounds, which is crazy to be a 155er. But fights are fights. Both, I think that's a great fight for RDA, great fight for Kevin Lee. It's kind of hard to predict fights, when they're at that high level because anything can happen. I mean, I didn't expect Masvidal to knock out Till, and you saw what happened. It takes that one shot. So I think it's going to be a good fight for the fans, though, for sure.
Yeah. And right now with Ben Askren, they're talking about, UFC seemingly wants to do the Robbie Lawler rematch. I know you want to fight Robbie Lawler, and I know you mentioned Robbie or RDA as a potential opponent for South Carolina card. If they do that rematch, both those guys will kind of be off the table. So are you hoping that they go a different direction with Ben and not maybe lose Robbie available to fight you?
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of guys that Ben Askren is kind of talking with right now. I think he's going back and forth to Nick Diaz or something like that right now at the moment. I saw on social media. But, yeah, man, I mean, Lawler is definitely the fight I've been wanting for a while. I've been a big fan of his, and he's just such a monster in the welterweight division. I thought he looked great his last fight, even with Ben. He looked very strong, and he looked just really focused. I think that year off gave him some time to heal up and get his mind right. So I think that would be awesome. I know there's a card happening in Greenville, South Carolina, my hometown, 3 months from now. So hopefully I'll come out of this fight unscathed and we'll make that fight happen. But yeah, there's a lot of big things happening right now in the welterweight division. I mean, it was for stagnant for a little while. It wasn't talked about very much because there was that whole Colby Covington, Usman whole debacle with Tyron, who's going to be facing Tyron. And the division was kind of held up, but now that there's a new champion and you've had these crazy fights like Masvidal and Till, and the whole hit him with the three piece and a soda in the back has caused a lot of excitement in this division. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's a very exciting division right now, but I would say it's the hardest and most stacked division in the UFC, which I'm glad to be a part of that.
Do you think Robbie wants to fight you? Someone brought up your name before his fight with Askren, saying that maybe that was a fight that was in the works. And he kind of went out of his way to be like, no, that was never seriously close to happening.
Well, to us, it was. From the word that we were getting, that it was happening, and it wasn't until the fight. I was up in New York with Chris Weidman during his fight is when I found out he was actually fighting Askren. So up until then, it looked like we were going to fight him. And I don't know if that was UFC or his coaches. I don't know what the whole plan was there. But, for a little while there, it looked like it was a sure thing. But, things happen. So
is Askren being good for the UFC for this division? I mean, it seems like he's called out everyone except more or less you. And maybe he knows you're just too nice to kind of engage with him. But do you think he's being good for this division?
He's definitely bringing some flair to this division, yeah. I mean, he's got the gift of gab, and he's very good at what he does. So I think it's a good thing for the welterweight division for sure. I mean, bring some excitement to it,
Speaking of excitement, just like the amount of hype behind your fight is coming up here on Saturday. What's it like to have another guy with that type of energy, that flair, like just even verbally in front of the camera, as Pettis, and then obviously you?
I think it's great, man. I mean, I'm excited for this fight. Most of the guys I face in the welterweight division have been wrestlers. Ellenberger, Johnny Hendricks. I mean, even Rory McDonald's known for his jiu-jitsu and grappling. He tried to get the fight to the ground. Tyron is a high-level grappler, but you didn't get to see it a whole lot in our fight. Very rarely do I get to fight guys who are stand-up fighters. I mean, my last one was Masvidal, and I was super excited for that one because, I know for a fact this guy, number one, he's good at striking. Same thing as Pettis. And what excites me the most is I have to go out there and figure this guy out because I know Anthony Pettis is studying, man. He's working. And of course, his coach, Rufus, says he's got my number, so I want to see what he's got. So I may have to do some adapting out there, which makes this fight fun. It's a chess match to me. And, the fight like I had with Johnny Hendricks is, to be honest with you, no disrespect to Johnny, but it was fairly easy. Because when you see him fight once, you've seen him fight 100 times. And Anthony's not that way. He's definitely evolves every time he steps out there. So that's what makes this fight fun.
So something that maybe people don't think about as much. Their team does have those 2 fights with you, the draw and the win with Tyron. Like, does that add into your motivation? Like, I want to show, and your team's motivation, your coaches, that it's obviously a different style and everything, but do you want to be these guys get one over on the team dynamic?
You know what? I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. I got my opponent, and that's who I'm all focused on, and That's all I'm worried about right now. Not the whole Rufus thinking he's got my number and all this crap. You know, he says that, but I don't believe it one bit. You know, and Tyron's a completely different fighter. You know, he's not the same fighter as Pettis. So, you know, the things that may work for Tyron may not work for him. But that doesn't bother me one bit. You know, I don't think about that.
So it seems like you're obviously targeting this fight with Robbie Lawler, you know, at your hometown coming up in June. But with Usman winning, it's kind of opened the division back up for you. There's no longer Tyron just kind of clamping down on any potential third fight for you there. Does the Robbie Lawler fight get you closer to a title shot?
You know what? That's a good question. I think, you know, for one, a good win over Pettis is going to put me back in the limelight. It's been almost 10 months since I fought again, and you know, out of sight, out of mind. You know, people stop talking about you, people forget about you, and I just want to be back out there, let everybody know that I'm still here. So, but you know, a win over Lawler too, which, I mean, he's a former welterweight champion. I mean, he's one of the best strikers in the division and has been in the game for a long time. So, it may not move me up, but it still shows everybody that I'm here if I go out there and, you know, do what I want to do, know I can do Saturday, and then fight Lawler, you know, in my hometown, prove that, hey, you know, Steven's still here. Let's give him that shot again.
So it's also been kind of a theme today that a lot of fighters are moving up in weight, especially recently. A lot of fighters have been having success moving up weight classes. Anthony Smith just fought for a light heavyweight title. Is that, obviously Pettis is making his move up to welterweight. Is that something that concerns you going into this fight, that this has been a trend that's been pretty successful?
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, yeah, you've got a few guys that are moving up. Actually, a lot of guys that are moving up. You know, Cowboy Cerrone did very well in the 170 division. Michael Chiesa just submitted Carlos Condit. Now you got Kevin Lee, and then he got Anthony Pettis moving up. You know, this is my division, and I will welcome any one of those guys with open arms to our division. And so I'll be doing that Saturday night against Anthony Pettis. So it doesn't bother me one bit. He's my opponent, and everybody's saying I'm going to go out there and wax this dude, but I'm ready for a 5-minute round war. And that's what I prepare for. You know, it may end up happening a lot sooner. So, you know, I prepare for the worst, and that's the mindset I'm going to go in Saturday.
And also kind of similarly, I know you've been asked this before, but the middleweight champion, obviously you do have a win over him. Is that something you've ever considered, or especially recently watching all these guys jump up weight and be so successful?
Yeah, I thought about it. Yeah, I told myself, hey, I get this welterweight title. You know, I faced Robert Whitaker and beat him in the first round. If I get that welterweight title, when I get that welterweight title, I'll jump up and fight him if he's still champ. Of course, I'm not a very big 170 anyway, but may take some time to put some weight on. But I think that would be a fun fight, man, because I know the guy's going to keep the fight standing. And he's the same boat as me. I mean, he's fighting wrestler after wrestler after wrestler. And I think the only one in his division that isn't really going to be looking for the takedown is Israel. So yeah, man, if he still has it, I would love to jump up and fight him.
Go for it.
What do you make of Israel? Obviously, he comes from a very decorated striking background as well. Is he someone that impresses you? And you think he's kind of carrying the torch for strikers in the UFC as well?
I think so too, man. I like his mindset, man. We're both, we kind of like similar stuff. He's all into anime. You can see it out there in the octagon and stuff too. You know, I'm all into that kind of stuff. He's a very good kickboxer, high-level striker. So, yeah, man, I find myself rooting for these guys. So, yeah, very impressed with him.
Can we eventually see you have a ninja fight with him?
Maybe. I don't know. Right now I got one guy I'm focused on, and that's Anthony Pettis this Saturday. So once I get past him, we can talk about that later. All right, guys. Thank you.